Good evening, class. This is Professor Puente, and I have one of your students here, Selena. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
So we're doing the video. We're doing the video live. We set up quite a bit. Actually, some of you guys are present, and they're present in on WhatsApp, as you can see here. And we've actually divided a few questions for the class. And as we will go, they'll kind of give us a few questions. Please, those doing the questions out there on WhatsApp, just send the questions as you hear them, because this is not a true live. It's a 2-minute delay. But we'll start. Our first objective is objective 5. And as you can see, objective 5 is determining causes. Okay. And the thing about quizzes, especially midterms, Selena, and finals, is that wherever it's in blue, whatever is a term, make sure you study it, because that's going to be part of the midterm and final.
Okay.
All business education is about that. Okay. So the root cause analysis is a study that determines the real basis for the problem. So you've heard of the word cause before, right, Selena?
Yes.
Okay, so what do you think would be a cause of a coughing? What would be when you go to a doctor?
The flu, maybe.
The flu, exactly. The cause is not the coughing itself, right? It's a symptom. So this is all we're speaking about here, actually, in this part of the class. So a symptom is just what causes make. So again, you coughing is the symptom, and the cause will be a flu. What do you think about that, Selena?
I think that it goes it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
And in my working industry as a pharmacy technician, that it works pretty well, because a lot of people with symptoms, that's how they're diagnosed with, what medicine, what's wrong with them, and things like that.
So it's interesting, and you, as in being a pharmacy technician, right, for Walgreens, right?
Yes.
Do you think sometimes people get those mixed up?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's probably the root cause of things.
Yeah, because sometimes they go in and they think it's the flu, but it's really just allergies or something.
Exactly. So it says look for more than one cause. So yes, the flu may be part of the issue. It could also be the pack of cigarettes you're smoking, right?
True.
So sometimes it's more than one cause. So be careful about that, because people love to say, well, we've taken the cause already out the way, and it could be something else. Consider the cost. Sometimes, you should identify the basis of a problem before solving it, but there are costs to fixing that problem. I'll let you know, in real estate, a lot of people try to tell me, hey, is there any way we can move that toilet? Tell them, yeah, you could, and it probably looks better. It's just going to cost you quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
So consider not fixing the problem by saving the cost, is what it's saying. Okay,
Okay, I see.
Sometimes it's part of the solution. And use the 5 whys techniques. Okay, so as you can see in your book, 5 whys. What that means is, if you have a problem, ask yourself 5 times why, and it'll go into a deeper cause of the problem. What do you think, Selena?
I think it's good, because you always want to see if something doesn't work, try something else, and it could also be cheaper, or it could really benefit any problem, any situation.
Believe it or not, kids are the best at this. They will ask why upon why upon why, up until it gets to a very fundamental truth. You'll see that. So, and then you have a popular way to visualize a complex problem, which is cause and effect diagram. And you see one here in figure 1-8, a cause and effect diagram for weak sales. Sometimes people are in sales team and they're like, well, what's going on? It could be your marketing, it could be your competition, economics, and political. And a lot of people don't know to put their problems on paper. I'm one of them not to, because it's, kind of think it through, right? But it does help sometimes to put the situation on paper and kind of see, well, what's the reason, right?
Yeah, like the diagram pyramid type thing.
Exactly. Even better, a board, because I feel like ideas come into whiteboards better. So good.
Yeah.
So that's that objective. Let's see what the questions are out there on this objective 5 that we can answer. Let's see. I think this is when we ask, and we said Khadija, Joyce, Amelia, and Danilo. Anybody there with questions? And that's what I meant. Like, if you have questions, try to give the questions out before the end of the objective, because it's not live. So we try to get some of these. Let's see if we can get some. Joyce is typing. What's the difference between symptoms and causes? What do you think about that one, Selena?
I think a symptom is like you said, a cough.
Okay.
And a cause is, well, it could be the flu, the pack of cigarettes that you're smoking. It could be a lot of things. And then a symptom is just one like thing.
It's tied to the cause.
It branches out, yeah.
Yeah, it's tied to the cause. So more than likely, you'll have multiple symptoms to a cause, right? That usually, like a branch. Exactly. So, so let's get to. Thank you so much, Joyce. I think here Joyce is doing true false. A symptom is the reason or the origin root of a change. I guess you could give us something. These are questions for us right now. So if you could give us something. Symptoms is evidence of change. Cause is reason for change. Yes, thank you, Victoria. That does help. So some of you guys are getting credit for this. Here, who are the best at asking why questions and why? Who are the best at asking why questions besides kids, Selena? I'll give you a hint.
What do you mean?
Who besides kids? Who are the best at asking why questions? I'll give you a good hint. You see him at court.
Lawyers?
Yes, lawyers get to a they get to a cause, because that's even more important, right? Even when you hear murder trials, what's the number one thing they ask about? Causes. They know this happened, but they want to know the motive.
Why? Yeah.
Why? Exactly. The 5 whys. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys. So objective 6, please have your questions ready and just shoot them. These are questions again for me, the professor, and Selena, our guest speaker. Thank you very much. Let's see. And by the way, Selena got great credit on her final for being prepared for this, right? So I'm hoping someone next week will volunteer and get some points on the midterm, actually, on the midterm. Yeah. So let's see here, and we'll go and close this out and go to objective 6, guys. Simplifying complex problems. Identifying a major symptom. As you begin to work on a complex problem, identify as many obvious symptoms as you can. So now it's saying, look for the multiple symptoms that you need, right? And one of the things you have to realize is that you have to work backwards from the symptom, not necessarily the cause, because that's the thing that's you're kind of fixing, but the symptom itself. So if your vehicle has a bad noise, that will be, what would that be, Selena?
That would be a symptom.
Exactly. So I bet you with that bad noise, something else is going along with it. Maybe some rattling, right? Some vibration. And that's all symptoms upon symptoms. And then you get to the cause of those symptoms. So consider each problem individually. So yes, that noise is one thing. The vibration, it's another. It's another. And then you try to look for things separately, because they may not be related. What if the vibration is something else? And
it could be more than one thing.
Exactly. You see how we're trying to go through with these decisions? You're kind of cutting into pieces the situation, so you kind of make a good decision, right?
Yeah, just breaking down.
So let me ask you this, Selena. Sub problems. I'm gonna give you 3 sub problems, okay? And you rank them, okay?
Okay.
Your football team is not winning. You bought a ticket to the game. The person you invited to go is not coming. What are your 3 rankings?
My team sucks.
Really? That's important for you. Okay.
I wasted money.
Exactly.
They're not winning.
Okay.
I have no one to go with.
You have no one to go with. So those are your 3. I like how your team not being good is top and you're wasting money second. But that's funny. That's how people. But you see how you rank the sub problems. You rank them.
Yeah.
So you have an idea. Hey, if this is a huge issue, this is much harder, guys, in if real life, because when it's real problems, like, spouse cheating on you is really hard to use decision. This is all about business, though, right? This is all about business. So look for interdependencies. So problems are often tightly interrelated. consider how various issues affect one another and look for interdependencies. This means that these items are connected, right?
Yeah.
Okay, delegate sub-problems. You might not have the authority or ability or resource to properly address each part of the of the solution, right? So each one of the problems I told you are separate, right?
Yes.
So if your friend doesn't come along, even though you pay for your ticket, that is a different issue than you dealing with your team not being good, right?
Yes.
So what they're saying here is, don't get mad at the friend for the team not being good. He's just bad friend for not coming, right?
Okay, I see. Yeah.
So then let's see the questions. Lindsay, what is the best way to delegate sub-problems when you do not have the authority to do so? That's a very good question. I would say that if you don't have the authority to do so, the best way to delegate is to kind of influence, right? To go to the person who is in charge of that problem and say, hey, wouldn't it be better if we could do it this way? Because the thing about stakeholders, and I think I talked about this last week on the chat group, is that, yeah, you may not be connected to that person, but
you're still getting affected.
Exactly. You're still going to get affected somehow. Like in your case, in a pharmacy, if somebody doesn't show up to work, yeah, that person affects you, right? Because you probably have to do twice the work.
Backs us up. People will complain because their medicine isn't ready and they have to come back. Yeah.
It affects the whole system, right? It's so funny. So you try. Now, let me tell you, like her question, you don't have the authority, but I bet you can suggest, hey, next time, do you mind showing up to work?
Showing up.
Right? So a suggestion. Any other questions? Let's see who else. We see some. Let's see. What objective 6? Betty, Carrie, and Victoria. Any questions? Let's see if we can wait for them. If not, save your questions for the next objective, please. And we'll go on. Remember, guys, you for whoever's out there live, if you haven't asked your question to us, this is how you get your discussion grade. Don't miss out. So with that said, let's go to objective 7, identifying. This one's going to be identifying and managing risks, right? And then we'll look for the key term, beware of potential risk. Okay, we have a few questions real quick. What is the divide and conquer more specifically? What is divide and conquer more specifically? Well, that means to separate it into small tasks, small items. People try to take on a problem big. Isn't that right, Selena? They try to take on a huge issue, but it's probably the sum of its parts that's giving you the huge trouble, right? And
so it's better to start with the small problems and then work your way up.
Work your way up, exactly. And it's so funny, this is not a life class, this is about business, but it sounds like life, doesn't it? Right? Yes. It does, but it could help. So objective 7, be aware of potential risks. As you consider alternatives and possible solution, ask what might go wrong with each. That's right. So even though you're given solutions, there's risks to the solutions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when people come and they want to get their prescriptions filled, do you guys not tell them about side effects?
Yes, we do.
Yeah,
we have to.
You give them a speech about it, right?
Personally, I don't, but the pharmacist does.
The pharmacist does, right? But isn't it funny that they give them a little speech about, hey, you're here to cure your problem, but here are more problems, right?
Yes.
Here are possible. That's risk. So, and assess your risk-reward ratio. That is really big for finance. That is really big for pharmacy. That's really big for life. Risk-reward ratio. What does that mean? That if you went to Mount Everest and wanted to climb it, it's a beautiful experience. But did you know there's a 10% chance that you might die? Is that worth?
Makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Is that worth the 10%, Selena?
No.
Well,
to me, it's not.
For some people who are millionaires, and are like on their 50s, and they're like, hey, if I'm gonna die, I might as well die in Mount Everest. But you see, your risk rewarding your ratio, and you're like, I'm just not gonna go. I'd rather go to Six Flags, right? It's the same thing. Same thing. Reduce your risk by testing. So another way to do this is something me and you did, right? Earlier at 7:30, we met and we checked our Skype connection.
Correct.
Did we reduce the risk of not anyone hearing us? Yes.
Yeah.
because people were not hearing us early on, right? So we reduced it. So Marlon says, risking your life, LOL. Yeah, that's an issue. Develop a fallback position or backup plan. This is something people don't usually do. I mean, let's be honest, Lena. When's the last time you made a backup plan?
I do not remember.
Right? You don't ever think, well, I'm going to go somewhere, but my backup plan is to go somewhere else. No, you don't. For the big life decisions or for the big business decisions, you better have a backup plan. Let me give you a good example. If your wedding is outside, should you have a great backup plan in case it rains?
Yes, definitely.
And I'll tell you this, weddings, because they're such a big investment and such a beautiful moment, especially for women, they're going to have a backup plan. It is really funny how they always have a backup place for a wedding. People always do. It doesn't matter if it's in the desert. They will, right? Because anything outside could probably be. So, and then keep everyone informed. Do you guys talk to each other at the pharmacy at Walgreens?
Yes.
Is communication important?
Yes.
How do you talk
to better serve the patients?
How do you guys talk to each other usually?
We have 5-minute meetings.
5-minute meetings. Wow. So it's just real quick huddle. That sounds like a huddle, by the way.
No, yeah, because it's a 24-hour pharmacy, so it's always busy. And then so it's kind of like when we don't have any patients. Okay, hurry! Like we have to talk our problems. What's the best way to solve this? And then everybody just puts in their input, and then it goes by fast because we suddenly have patients in the drive-through or up at the front counter.
So I have a question from Victoria. Let me bring you here. What is the best way to avoid potential risks? What do you think? A good way to avoid potential risks?
Avoid potential risks. Have a backup plan?
Exactly. I was going to bail you out of that one. I was going to, believe it or not, Selena, I was going to be your backup plan. I'm like, hey, my backup plan is to answer the question.
Perfect example.
Perfect example. Have a backup plan. Usually a backup plan always bails people out of. And this means anything. You know what my backup plan for you on Skype was going to be? Have videos on WhatsApp, right? That's exactly so. Good. So what is it? Okay, be aware. Could you give an example of thing we did of risk and also risk avoidance, Nubia? An example of risk, I'll tell you a real good one. It's going to be in the stock market. You make money off risk, all right? That's exactly what you do. In fact, you test your risk in the stock market. You tell people, this is my percentage of risk. Even though I've done great, it's just a matter of time before I don't. Risk is to be avoided in most scenarios. That's how people really do well. However, you have to have it because if there's no risk, then everybody could do it, right?
Correct.
So it's just dealing with that. So that was objective 7. That was a great objective, guys. Great questions. And the last objective, who has now gone in the WhatsApp video, in the WhatsApp conversation? This is your chance so you can get your discussion grade and you have 100 for the discussion. I think Selena's already earned her keep there. So avoid positive outcome bias. I'm going to tell you guys, this is an important part of the course. I'm a very positive person, Selena, believe it or not.
I can tell.
What I did not know is that most people are positive, at least in my view, nothing scientific, but most people are actually positive people. Did you know that people that are usually positive are late, usually?
Why?
Because they think they're going to make it every time. I mean, they're all the way in downtown, and they're supposed to be in Kingwood College, and they still think they're going to make it. They're that positive. So avoid, be careful with this positive outcome bias. It is great for church. It is great for morale. It is great for working out. But be careful because sometimes you will be late. Okay, be careful. You sometimes have to question it, right? So avoid the positive outcome bias, and it's real, guys. Yeah, there you go. Amelia says, and I'm late a lot. Well, you're a very positive person, Amelia. It's just not many people see that as positive thing, right? That's not funny. And avoid not invented here. The tendency to develop a strong sense of ownership in your own ideas and opinions might lead you to overlook potential solutions from other sources. So what does that mean? And Professor Puente is doing his live classes. And then I'm like, well, my live classes are great. You know, the truth is that there may be something even better that I did not try to put together. And I should be open for that. I should be absolutely open for that. I shouldn't just go out there and push the life classes and the WhatsApp interaction just because I brought it to the table, right? That,
Yeah.
do you see what I mean? Sometimes you got to be open to what's better, not what's yours, right?
True.
And let me ask you about this one, Selena. Avoid the need for quick closure. People feel uncomfortable with doubt, uncertainty, and want to just have answers. They lack the ready answer. So what they want to do is close the case and be like, okay, we found the answer. Have you ever seen that before?
Yep.
So it's like there's an issue that's very complicated, but they want to just say, we found the answer.
But really, there's plenty of answers and different ways to go about it.
So what would be a good thing to avoid that? Some people do brainstorming. Yeah, some people go brainstorming. So for 5 minutes, I don't care how many answers you bring. For 5 minutes, everybody just dump their brain on a piece of paper on how to get a better answer, right? Because quick closure does happen. And then how about number 4? Avoid the bandwagon effect. What do you think about that, Selena?
Followers.
A lot of Cowboy fans out there. Sorry for the Cowboy fans, but there were a lot of Cowboy fans this year, right? They love the bandwagon. Well, believe it or not, class, bandwagon effect is an actual business term, an actual MBA business term, which is if the effect is particularly dangerous when solving problems, it just means when working in a company with strong set of cultural norms, it is easy to adopt a popular opinion, just something that's already there. So you just kind of accept it. And it's also called a sacred cow. It means that you just always done it, so you're going to keep it the same way. Now, in pharmacy, you always have drive-thrus, right?
And for the most part, yes.
For the most part. So some things that are happening in the pharmacy world, in the industry, is that people pick up their prescription already text in. So they kind of just order it on the app. Some pharmacists may not like it, right? Because they rather do their own drive-through way. So
yeah, and sometimes the system doesn't go through, and then we have upset patients, and they're sitting there fighting with us through drive-through.
So you can see why sometimes the bandwagon effect happens to pharmacists, where they're like, I just want to do a drive-through. No, it is meant, because you're right, there are issues with, but the truth is that Walgreens may be calculating that people rather not call it in, but rather do it, and therefore get a better, situation there. Let's see some of the questions. Yep, like corporate culture. That is very true, Victoria. It's real out there. The minute you have a backup plan, you have admitted you're not going to succeed. Is this true? Betty, what a great question. The minute you have a backup plan, have you admitted you're not going to succeed? What do you think?
I think it's true.
Look, let me tell you this, Betty. Great question. With that said, I would think me as a positive person would think that way. And that will be called gut intuition. So gut intuition, which means faith, which means law of attraction, means don't have a backup plan, right? But that's not the context of what I teach. What the context of I teach is be careful of what? Positive outcome bias, which means I don't need a backup plan because and guess what? You may need it at the end. So
and sometimes, like one of the students says, backup plans can also fail.
Yeah, and then you need a plan C, which most people don't have, right? And right, I don't even know what that is. Bandwagon effect is also called sacred cow. Yes, that is correct, Carrie. It's not an academic term. It's usually a corporate culture term. It just means that people do the same thing over and over, and they don't even realize why. Backup plan can also fail. That's right, Danilo, and that's what we said. Maybe have a plan C, or it's just not meant to be, right? Because it's not academic here. So, hey, it's funny I said sacred cow. What do you see in this picture? A cow. Or the herd effect. And then the last one, I'll finish with this one. It's called avoid self-serving bias. Many common decision traps cause people to act against their best interests. A self-serving bias is anything that leads you to see the data as most you want it to appear. It's actually something called affirmations. Isn't that right, Selena?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of this? This is not academic. This is just what I see out there. People nowadays in social media are looking.
Sorry.
It's all right. People nowadays in social media are looking for what they believe is true, not what it is, right?
They
So
go about what, yeah.
so they look for the confirmations, right? They don't necessarily look for the truth. They want to know that they're right. Exactly. So that is very, very important to understand that in business decision, you don't want to be self-serving. If you're wrong, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
That's right. And it's okay to admit it. In fact, I want to give more credit for that. And what are some of the things that I've been wrong about? Maybe the way I've done the quizzes, but hey, I try my best, but it does not mean that I don't make mistakes, right?
Yep, nobody's perfect.
And besides, in pharmacy, when you make a mistake, it's not a big deal, right?
Oh, it is. It is a big deal.
It's a big deal,
People's
right?
life.
Well, it's your grades, but I know people's lives is kind of a big deal. A lot less error rate. And how can you avoid the bandwagon effect in business setting? By Joyce. I think the most important thing is to play onto the culture, but also see it with scientific method. Guys, realize what scientific method is. It means that you are seeing the null, going back to zero, and see what works outside of any culture setting, etc. However, the culture is important. So play along. Just make sure it's healthy, right? I bet it's hard to avoid not invented here if you're the owner. That is very true, Victoria. Very hard to take on not invented here. That's true. And
Yeah.
that's for anybody, right? Nobody's perfect, is what Khadija said. Well, I guess we'll leave with that one, right? Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thank you so much, Selena. Do you have any last things to say to your class?
No, just that this was fun, and I hope you have people who want to do it next time.
I will tell and share with the class something. Look at Selena's notes before she came on. I'm going to share those notes. And look, we spoke so much about her appearance, but check out this. That's her notes, and this was sent to me on Saturday evening. I truly appreciate your preparedness for the situation. Again, it shouldn't take this much, but I tell you, if I was a pharmacist, I would hire you. All right.
And don't be shy, whoever you pick.
Don't be shy because you get some good points on the midterm. So let's see who else signs up, who volunteers. Thank you so much. You have a good evening. Thank you, class, for everything you guys have said. And you guys all get credit. Those who put in their opinion or their questions get points for that. And that is all for tonight. We end at 8:34. Thank you, Selena. Good night.